comes through. Fresh start in the morning blue. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Left your feet don't touch the ground. Life it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day. Oh, coffee, steam, and a smile breaks free. Simple joys are enough for me. Stones roll out, but I don't mind. Sun's still waiting on the other side. Turn it up, feel the sound. Good vibrations all around. Hey, now blue sky shining down. Lift your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day. No heavy weight, no looking back. Just open roads and a steady track. Hands in the air, feel the sway. Let the light carry us away. Wake up, sunlight tapping on the door. Feels like I've been here all before. Radio humming, the world feels right. Every little thing's in tune tonight. Shadows fade, the truth comes through. Fresh start in the morning blue. Hey now, blue sky shining down. Lift your feet, don't touch the ground. Laugh it off, let the good times stay. Oh yeah, it's a blue sky day.
Woohoo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat, so do appreciate you being here. Man, we've got so much to get to today. I am just so sick of the news. I just want the Insurrection Act to be invoked, but Donald Trump won't do it, and I'm mad. I think that Donald Trump is going to start pulling back, and here's why. He had like a conversation, and they are on the same wavelength. Tim Walz and Donald Trump. He had a conversation with the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, and I don't know. I think that they're going to pull out, ramp it down a little bit prior to the 2026 midterms, which is really disappointing because guess what? The media, they have all of this footage, and they're just going to use the footage of the riots, of the anti-ICE protests. They're just going to use that footage all the way up until the midterms, and they're going to sway the election one way anyway. So I say, dig your heels in, invoke the Insurrection Act. All right, let's get to these signal chats. This is explosive. Now, up to this point, I've speculated. I've said, yeah, it's probably run by nonprofits. The nonprofits are sort of organizing this thing. Now we have the chats. We infiltrated the group chat. Cam Higbee, who is an independent journalist, actually infiltrated it. And the conservatives have been kind of poring over what he found. Cam Higbee, and these are Signal chats. Signal, I guess, like some sort of encryption app So it's similar to Snapchat in the sense that the message goes away, or you can't screenshot messages in the app. You can't screen record. So these are signal chats, and they're anti-signal chats. And Alex Pretti, I guess, was involved in this signal chat. Okay, there's this area signal chat, and there's multiple admins who also happen to hold office titles. The Walz administration has been implicated in this. We haven't confirmed that this user is in fact the Lieutenant Governor, Peggy Flanagan. We have in fact found out that there's crowdsource funding. There's foreign countries involved. Canada is involved in crowdsourcing or crowdfunding this. So this has been all revealed. And I'm going to break it down in simple terms for you. Then we're going to talk about the same deportations. I just love Karoline Leavitt. I tune into the press conferences sometimes. Yesterday, I tuned in. A masterful takedown. She exposed the left's hypocrisy. Yesterday, I did that with Barack Obama. He issued some sort of gay statement about how giving Trump advice about how to go about ICE deportations. And I'm like, dude, there were like 67 deaths during your entire office, nowhere near what Donald Trump has of illegal aliens, illegal immigrants under your custody. A lot of them killed themselves. The ACLU called you out, Brock Barry, for medical, substandard medical practices within the ICE facilities where these immigrants were being housed, these illegal immigrants were being housed while awaiting deportation. There were substandard medical practices that resulted in the death of, some of the 67, the number I cited there, but I think it was like 6 of those 67 committed suicide while in custody. So sit down, Barry. Okay. And then he's like, civil liberties. In a statement, he talks about civil liberties and core values. Dude, you weaponized your presidential powers against journalists. And then, not to mention, you weaponized the IRS against the Tea Party, who was wanting to open up a 501c4 in order to fundraise against you in your 2012 campaign. And then you sicked the IRS on this group, the Tea Party. So sit down. And I just love how Karoline Leavitt exposes the left's hypocrisy. She did a great job. We're going to talk about how they're pulling out Kristi Noem. I think they're going to ramp down these deportations, these operations. We found something out, by the way, that address where Alex Pretti was shot. We found something out interesting about that address. And perhaps the reason why federal agents were there, Border Patrol agents were there. No wonder the feds were there. This address has a bunch of businesses, healthcare related businesses, 185 odd, some over 100 national provider identification numbers are there. So like there's over 100 providers in this. I mean, it's not a very big facility. It's not like a hospital. It's, I think, 11,000 square feet. It just seems preposterous. And I'm curious how many of these businesses are like functioning. These healthcare providers, are they actually businesses, or is it just taxpayer dollars being funded into here, immigrant controlled healthcare services, but they're not actually providing those services. They're just getting the tax money and running with it. Was he interfering, Alex Pretti, was he interfering with that operation of taking down the fraud or finding the Somalians? Perhaps the agents were trying to find the Somalians who were perhaps implicated or being investigated for said fraud that is happening out of that building. Perhaps I'm not saying that it is happening out of that building for sure, but is it being investigated as such? And did Alex Pretti try to stop an operation where those perhaps fraudsters were going to be apprehended by Border Patrol? I don't know. But there's so much. There's so much. Plus, I got to get to rent control because I wanted to talk about that yesterday. We ran out of time. I took a lot of chats. I'll be sure to take some of your chats at the end of the program, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's Conservative Cat. We are going to talk about rent control coming to Illinois. Oh boy. So stick around for that. We are learning a lot more about the people in this anti-ICE signal chat. Okay, this is a group chat, and independent journalist Cam Higby on X, he infiltrated this group chat. Okay, and this is an organization really of donors, and everybody has a role in this signal chat. They all have like an occupation in the takedown of ICE or in the targeting and tracking of ICE. Okay, so everybody has a role in this organization, and then they have a group chat where they discuss their findings. It's really bizarre. But the significance here is that the address of which Alex Pretti was obstructing officers and then ultimately died, where he was shot, the address was in this group chat, this anti-ICE signal chat. Okay, so it's very clear that this is an insurrection and that it's organized and it's led by possibly several elected officials in Minnesota and aided by alleged journalists, people who claim to be journalists. So it was also a setup. It was by design. It was a plan where they said, hey, ICE is going to be at this address. Don't know how they knew that, but in the chat, they say, hey, ICE is going to be at this address. Like I said, this address is very fascinating because there's a ton of like healthcare providers listed at this address, and it doesn't make sense that 185 of them are listed there. So is there Somalian fraud going on at this location? I don't know. Was that part of their operation that day? Was that why ICE was there? Or Border Patrol? DHS, is that why they were there? Were they investigating potential fraud at this address? Where he obstructed officers, Alex Pretti obstructed officers and ultimately died. So the address is thrown into this group chat, and then they get journalists. So there's like journalists and their occupation. They list their occupation, and then they go out to the scene. One journalist, we'll get to him, NPR, Ben Hovland. He was at the scene. I don't think coincidentally, Renee Good was in this group chat. You've got Alex Pretti being in this group chat. And this Ben guy, the NPR journalist, he's on the scene, and he has now officially locked his Twitter account. But he has reported on, or he was there with film. He had exclusive film of the Renee Good ramming, the vehicle ramming, and ultimately the shooting of Renee Good. So he was there filming it. So this is really fascinating. It's so broad, so vast, but I'm going to give you the highlights in the simplified version. Okay, but I encourage you to go check out the Signal chat. There's going to be some data that I share with you from Data Republican. You can go download that data to see who the donors are of this organization. I'm just going to call it ICE Watch. I think it's like an ICE Watch signal chat, rapid response organization, and it's tied to several donors, those being, kind of like nonprofit organizations, and even somebody foreign in Canada donating and setting up sort of the system for the funding for this organization. So this is very organized, very well funded. It's sophisticated. Okay, so these groups, there's multiple signal chats, but these groups are set up geographically within the city of Minneapolis. Okay, so they're divided by city council district, these groups. Okay, so there's one that covers St. Paul, Minnesota. You guys might recognize that. That's where the city's church was infiltrated and invaded. And then you have one in Bloomington, Minnesota, and then other suburbs. So they're generally divided by city council district, these groups. Okay, and they start a new chat every day, and then they delete the prior day's chat. Okay, so they're covering their tracks in real time. They're using the Signal chat very deliberately, because this is an encrypted sort of app where the chats are deleted, and then you can't screenshot, you can't screen record. So because of Signal's encryption, it's exceedingly difficult for the deleted messages to be recovered. Okay, so they delete the prior day's chat, and then they start a new chat every day. Okay, so we can't get the deleted messages likely, but we did infiltrate. Cam Higbee infiltrated the chat yesterday, and we've stumbled upon a big whale. Okay, this is the big whale. So participants, they can't record these messages prior to deletion. The way Signal's kind of set up, they don't have a screenshot function, and the only way to really record these is the way Higbee did it, which I think he recorded it on a separate phone. So he infiltrated a chat and he recorded the chat on a separate phone. So what's really fascinating about this is that they have sort of set up a code, these organizers within these chats. Like I said, these chats are directly associated with certain groups that are split up by city council districts, and every suburb sort of has their own chat. That's kind of how that goes in Minneapolis. But they've got like a code going on. So every user has an emoji right next to their name when they're on shift and if they're available. So they put an emoji and a set of emojis right next to their name, their username, to indicate, hey, what is my position? What am I trained for? And what shift I'm working. Okay, so for example, I will show you this screenshot. Okay. So mobile patrol, dispatch, license plate checker. Okay. You've got these people who have emojis that indicate their role in the operation. Okay, so right next to their username, you would see this little telephone thing, and that's dispatch. And then mobile patrol, that's a car and a little puff of smoke. License plate reader, that's like a fork and a plate. Okay, so they're putting that next to their username to indicate to everybody in the chat what kind of position they're working when. Okay, so I've kind of told you about the organization. I hope you're getting it. These users are using the emojis to indicate what their job is, what their role is every single day in the chat. They're deleting the prior day's chat. They're starting the new day with a new chat. They're using Signal very deliberately, I believe, because it's encrypted and it's hard to recover deleted messages. But there was messages made available where Cam Higbee, he verified that this address where Alex Pretti was going to, that address where he died and where he interfered with and obstructed federal law enforcement, there was a message that went out, said, go to this address. Okay, and 50-year odds, some people showed up. So Alex Pretti wasn't the only one there. People from these Ice Watch groups show up once an address is thrown into the chat. So now I've talked about the organization. I kind of want to talk about the funding, because follow the money. So over the weekend, Data Republican. This is an X account. You guys can go check out the spreadsheet. There's 4,000 plus donors, okay, that are making monetary donations towards this effort, towards this ICE Watch rapid response team effort. And these donors consist of, organizations, nonprofits, and billionaire donors. Okay. It is publicly downloadable. You guys can go check it out. She has sent the Data Republican. The person behind that account has sent a non-redacted spreadsheet to the FBI and federal authorities. Hopefully they check this out. Why is this a big deal? If we have foreigners who are donating to organizations solely set up to in a very sophisticated fashion, shut down ICE, shut down our federal law enforcement, and to track and target them, like, that is craziness. That's an insurrection, and it's foreigners who are getting involved in the takedown of our federal government, which is really freaky. Okay, so the first donation to the effort ever made to these ICE Watch groups was made by Johnny Spatuik. Okay, so I had to look into this guy a little bit. He's Canadian, and he actually runs a crowdfunding site similar to Give, Send, Go, GoFundMe. It's called Chuffed. Okay, and he actually which hosts the fundraiser. Okay, so he has ties to this Chuffed. I'll get to him in just a second, but he's Canadian. He made the first donation, and he runs the crowdfunding site Chuffed. Okay, so Chuffed is like GoFundMe. This is really sophisticated. Okay, and I just want to make that clear that this is single gate donors list, has been made available for download. There's politicians and foreign leadership confirmed on this donors list. There's 4,000 plus donors who have donated towards this Chuffed site, including the guy who runs Chuffed. He was the first donation. Wild stuff. So the files revealed by Cam Higby directs people to this website. Okay, the files revealed by him, a resources file, directs people with money to a website. Okay, it gets complicated, and I'm like drawing a map here for you, but it's called Stand with Minnesota, the website. Okay, and it directs donors to a campaign ran by Tending the Soil on Chuffed. Okay, so I'll get to Tending the Soil a little bit later. So what you need to know is that this campaign is hosted by Chuffed. The first donation came from Johnny Spatuik, a Canadian-based community organizer who is part of the Chuffed leadership. Okay, runs Chuffed, specializes in fundraising. They got this guy. He makes the first donation. He probably is setting up the entire crowdfunding apparatus and has set up the crowdfunding apparatus. He's most likely a central figure when it comes to the raising money apparatus. Okay, so Tending the Soil, they run this Chuff site, and there is a resources file, in the Signal chat, and in this little organization, this online organization, there's a resources file where people who want to donate can go donate, and they go to this website called Stand with Minnesota, and it directs donors to this Tending the Soil, ran by Chuffed, on Chuffed. It's very bizarre. All you need to know is it's well funded, 4,000 donors, and they've got a guy who is in Chuffed leadership. So like they're very aware of how to crowdfund this thing. Okay, and it's sophisticated. So it's starting to also look like Johnny here, Canadian based community organizer, and we know Canada's relationship with us is very rocky, and China's been eyeing down Canada. Okay, so it's starting to look like foreigners are playing a key role in all of this, all of these Minnesota riots. Okay, and that's not all. They have politicians who are donating. They have nonprofit organizations, billionaires, but it gets even crazier because politicians and journalists are not only donating, towards the cause, but their names are appearing in the Signal chat, and the names of these people involved are politicians, journalists, and judges, elected officials. So they are affiliated with an insurrection, what I'm calling an insurrection, which is why I opened the show today and I said, hey, Donald Trump invoked the Insurrection Act today. I don't know why he's not doing it, but there are some big names involved here. Okay, so not surprisingly, we found out that Alex Pretti, the guy who was killed on Saturday, was a member of this group. It's also been confirmed that Renee Good was a part of this Ice Watch group, and she was in a Signal chat. He was in a Signal chat. Okay, neighbors have confirmed that. Janae Massey, she lives a block away from Alex Pretti, and she said that he was a member of the neighborhood Signal Ice group chat. Okay, so there's a Signal Ice group chat, and they use the group chat to rapidly respond to ICE agents or federal agents in the area. And they all have assigned duties. And in this group chat, it's been revealed now that there are some elected officials who are administrators of the group chat. Okay, so they're orchestrating all of it, and they're the ones deleting the chat every day, starting a new one. So what do these elected officials know? What kind of information are they getting about, where these ICE operations are? And they're involved in the government. Okay, so people like Representative Brad Tabke. Okay, Tabke. I'm going to get to him. He's an elected official that we have confirmed is in chat. Okay, Minnesota State Representative Brad Tabke coordinates the Scott County Ice Watch Signal chat. Now, Scott County is just outside of Minneapolis. Okay, so this is Representative Brad Tabke himself. He's running, he's organizing, he's coordinating the Scott County Ice Watch program. And there is all kinds of things within this program: recruiting, getting people to join the Ice Watch group in Scott County, getting people to join for patrol, dispatch, training. You train for license plate reading. Okay. There's even food delivery, packaging. So that, like, resources. So you could be somebody in this group, Ice Watch, and like be a food deliverer to the agitators themselves, to the license plate readers. Like, this is really freaky. Okay, and the shifts, specifically for this Scott County Ice Watch group, there's shifts, and I guess they meet at a location in Shakopee, the New Creation Church location. Okay, and they meet up for their shifts at that location. Okay, the Scott County Ice Watch group, which is bizarro. Really weird. So what do these state representatives, what do these elected officials, what kind of information are they getting? And like I said, where Alex Pretti died, that address, we're going to get to something really weird about it. A lot of healthcare providers registered at that address to be doing business. And we know with the daycare fraud, the healthcare services fraud, there's way too many businesses listed at that address for it not to be raising red flags. Are they getting taxpayer dollars? in the form of like grants, these healthcare providers, and then are they running away with those grants and not actually providing the services they say they're providing the taxpayer? That would be fraud, and that would explain why ICE was there that day. And how did the Signal chat administrators know to throw that address in? Like, what information are they getting, and who is like treasonous? You know what I mean? Like, they're obviously getting information. They're figuring out where ICE is at. They're tracking them. And they have help. Like, this is so sophisticated. Like, people on the inside of the government who know something about these operations. Somebody's leaking it to somebody, right? So another one of these administrators in the Signal chat that there has been confirmed by Cam Higbee, the independent journalist, Minnesota State Representative Alex Falconer. Okay, so in a campaign stop, Falconer admitted he was part of the chat, and he was trying to recruit participants at this campaign stop. And he said, quote, "I'm a community organizer at heart, and that's part of what I'm bringing to the table. I'm helping to lead the community response, rapid response network that we have given any ICE situations." Okay, so he's leading as an administrator this network, this far left network, rapid response network, and he's helping people find these ICE situations somehow, and then he's deploying people via these Signal chats. So he says, "We've got a couple of groups on an app called Signal. We would love for you to join." Okay, let's take a listen to him at the campaign stop. This is real. Here we go.
Yesterday we had the young man, 13-year-old, handcuffed by ICE, his father taken away. I arrived there as soon as I could. I talked to some of the family members. And I don't know, just going home and talking to my kids about what happened and how this is affecting our community. These are terrible times, but we will get through it. We'll get strong for it, and we will look out for one another. Before coming to the state legislature, I'm a community organizer at heart, and that's part of what I'm trying to bring to the legislature. I'm helping to lead the community response, rapid response network that we have, given any ICE situations. I have a couple cards here. I'm willing to stop to stay around and talk with anybody that wants any more information. We've got a couple groups on the app Signal that we would love for you to join. Whether or not you want to be a part of the Resistance Network, I fully understand that you may not be comfortable with that, but you can help us in a lot of ways by sending an alert.
Isn't it fascinating how he says, "I fully understand why you might not be comfortable with that"? Yeah, because what this is looking more and more like is an insurrection funded by foreign countries, funded by foreign billionaires, and there looks to be like possibly treasonous activity going on here. This is an insurrection. I don't know why. That's what I'm calling it. I don't know why the Insurrection Act hasn't been invoked. The FBI needs to get on this. But let's continue with what he says here.
That if you see any suspicious vehicles, any traffic, if you know of anybody that is being targeted, that's being detained, we have resources immediately available that we can send to you, send to their family, get them legal help, help the families if they need food, if people are afraid to leave their homes to get food. We're working with the food shelves to try to figure out a way to deliver groceries. I know yesterday apartment complexes needed their parking lots plowed and people were being taken as they were moving their cars. We can move your car for you. Just please, like anything, small, large, we are here for you. And we will stand with you. We will stand for you. So please do not hesitate to reach out for the information to join these groups so that we can all work together to protect one another. This is Minnesota. We value you. We love you. You are welcome here. And thank you for being here.
Oh, And I said this the other day. I said, liberals are so naive and honestly stupid. They think that, these Somalians, these invaders, these foreigners, they think that they have the same bleeding heart liberal mentality they do. These people are coming from countries where they throw gay people off of roofs, okay, where women are not allowed to wear anything that shows their ankle, okay. These people you're projecting your ideology onto these foreign invaders, and they don't think like you do. Okay, so you can, project your bleeding heart liberal ideology onto them all you want, but they're here. Most of them are here to take down America from within. That is what Donald Trump is doing. He's trying to combat that. The Venezuelan gangsters who are bringing drugs over, they're trying to take down America from within. And if you look at the global relationships here between, Africa, these African countries, you've got relationship between China and some of these African countries, and definitely the South American countries like Venezuela, Cuba, Colombia. And you're getting a lot of these South Americans, largely Venezuelans, pouring over the border, bringing drugs, trying to rape our women, murder people. It's a takedown from within by our foreign adversaries. And you can connect a lot of these, immigrants, if not outright working for these foreign adversary countries. Like they don't have the values you and I have. Okay, they are from countries of very different values at the end of the day. And if they're not outright working for the Chinese government to come into, you guys remember under the Biden administration when the border was open, that filming of all the Chinese military-aged men lined up, same backpack, same look to them, same haircuts. Like, this is an invasion, and they're trying to take down America from within, and they're exploiting our loose immigration policy. And this guy is so naive. He's projecting his bleeding heart liberal ideology onto these people, but these people are laughing in his face, and they're saying death to America in their head. Okay, they don't care about America. They do not have the bleeding heart liberal ideology that you have, that healthcare for all, and we just want to be neighbors. And that is not their purpose of being here. Okay, they want to destroy America with infiltrating our culture, even. And if not outright working with these foreign governments, their ideology is to take down America. Their religions is to take down America and to take down Christian Western values. Okay, that is the way they are brought up in those countries. Okay, so to Becky, this other representative, so that was Representative Falconer, and you've got Tebeki. He's involved because people who signed up for the chat received a welcome message from him, and the welcome message had his personal phone number in it. So we know that Falconer admitted his role right there. I just played it for you. And we know that this Tebeki representative, what's his name? Brad Tebeki, he had welcome messages with his personal phone number after people signed up for the Signal chat. Okay, so for the rest of the people I mentioned from here on out, so Falconer, Tebeki, we know 100% they are involved in this as administrators of some kind for the Signal chat. For the rest of this podcast, I'm going to be mentioning people's involvement, but it's not 100% confirmed. Those we can confirm because we have the kickback messages from Tebeki, and then we also have him on tape admitting that he is into the Signal chats. Okay, and he's recruiting people actively at a campaign stop there. Okay, Falconer. So we know they're involved 100%. Now, for the rest of the podcast, Many of these people, their involvement is kind of presumed because the username, right, it matches their name in real life. And they'll put their leadership position or they'll put their title. But there is no definitive, I just want to make this clear. There is no definitive determination when it comes to the rest of the people I mentioned throughout the podcast. Okay. It's just that their usernames match their names in real life. And some of them even put their titles in there. So it's presumed that, hey, it's this person. But there's no definitive determination like we have with those two representatives. So that would need, if you want to, for the rest of this podcast, the names that I mentioned, what you would need is law enforcement to kind of dig into this, find out if they are in fact sending the messages from their phones, or a personal confession. So I just want to be clear. So that way you guys aren't misled. Like, oh, this person definitely is involved in the signal chat gate. No, not officially, but we can kind of presume or assume that people who are using usernames with these names of real people are these real people. Okay, so one username, you have Arwin Chowdhury. Okay, Arwin Chowdhury. And now this is apparently a city councilman. This person is an admin of the Signal chat. And this is the same name, this username is the same name as Arwin Chowdhury on the city council in Minneapolis representing Ward 12. Prior to her post announcing the Pretti shooting, because there was a post announcing the Pretti shooting, Chowdhury had posted a video of a local pizzeria owner refusing to serve agents. Okay, so this group chat is all about, hey, let's target, find, harass these ICE agents when they're out and about doing their operations. Okay, so federal agents, they went to a pizzeria, and Chowdhury posted in this group chat a video of these federal agents being harassed and a local pizzeria owner not serving these federal agents. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Here we go.
Shows several men exit an SUV outside Rectangle Pizza in South Minneapolis.
And they stormed up on our door to try to get in.
But Rectangle Pizza co-owner Brianna Evans says employees and community members chased off those ICE agents after they tried to enter her restaurant Monday afternoon. Video appears to show those agents leaving, not before deploying chemical agents, which were kicked right back.
They don't belong here. They're not this community. They're not what we believe in. We support and love each other, and you can see from that video exactly what happens when they try to with us.
Okay, so there you have it. That was a local pizzeria owner refusing to serve federal agents. The video was posted by Chowdhury in the Signal chat just before her post announcing the Alex Pretti shooting. Okay, so now I am going to shift gears. That's one person, a city council member. Okay, like I said, at this point, we don't have an official determination that this person is in fact Arwin Chowdhury. We can only assume, because the username is using her name, that this is Arwin Chowdhury. It would take law enforcement to do their jobs and infiltrate this group chat. And like, good on Cam Higbee, an independent journalist who's uncovering this. But I hope the FBI is aware of what's going on here. This is sophisticated, well organized, well funded, and it's foreign funded. So Ben Hovland, I talked about him a little bit earlier in the show. Before we get to him, I'll take some of your chats. You have no culture, says somebody. Americans have no culture, says somebody in the chat. Yeah, you are exactly right. That is how the illegal immigrants, the people who are invading this country, think about our country. That's how they think about Western culture. They believe that their culture is superior to ours, which is untrue, because if you look at Western culture, Christian values, that's why people want to come here. That's why America is so much better. We have things like freedom of speech. We have things like the Second Amendment. We have the best military tenfold. Okay, we have a fantastic culture here, and I would say it's superior to others because we derive our laws from the Christian Bible. And people really like that, which is why people want to come to America all the time. Okay. But we have Eastern sort of immigrants and Middle Eastern immigrants, I would say, African immigrants. There's certain pockets of the world who resent it. Okay. A lot of people love it. A lot of people want to come here, but a lot of people despise it for those reasons as well. They resent it. There's just something about Christians that irk certain people, and they want to come here and take down America from within. And we are seeing that. Everybody tells me, hey, it's not the way I used to grow up. Like, this is not the same America. I don't recognize this America. In the 90s, it was, booming and people were happy. But now we've got drug epidemics. We've got murdering in the streets, raping in the streets. We've got crime out of control. And everybody's like scratching their heads. I wonder why this is. It's because there's people who come from the East, Middle East, these African countries, South American countries. Like I said, they've been infiltrated by our foreign adversary, China, through infrastructure deals that get them hooked up with China, and they'll never be able to crawl out from this crippling debt that they owe China. So therefore, China is kind of infiltrated and directed people to come in to our country and take it down from within, because they hate us. They hate the Christian values. They hate the Western culture, and they despise it. There's lots of people who love it, want to come here. And I don't doubt that there are those immigrants, but those immigrants tend to respect our immigration law, and they'll come through a port of entry and obtain some sort of temporary status or obtain a green card, naturalization, become a citizen. It's possible, by the way. I've met people who are legal immigrants. They don't like their communist culture. They don't like their religion. They don't like their foods, right? And then they come here to America because they want to assimilate. So you're proving my point. This hatred of Western culture, you have no culture. That's exactly what they think. And they think that theirs is superior, and they want to replace our culture with theirs. So I'm going to get to the rest of the story or rest of the show, but just throwing this out here, our culture is superior. They hate it because it is superior at the end of the day. And they are infiltrating America from within. And the white people who are bleeding heart liberals, which I'm assuming you're from America, the white people, they are very naive and stupid, actually, like quite literally low IQ individuals, these liberals. They have this bleeding heart liberal mentality, and they project that ideology onto these people because I don't know if it's a psychology thing where it's almost easier to do that rather than admit that these people are out to get you. That's a very scary, unsettling reality that we live in a country where, or live in a world where people will come all the way over here just to kill you because you're Christian and white. Okay. It's hard to sit with that reality, but it exists. So what these people have done, the bleeding heart liberals like Ben Hovland, who I will get to here in just a second, the people who are American and have sided with this unknowingly, they've sided with this adversary of ours. Straight up want to take down America. You too. Okay, that's what these people don't understand is you're not exempt from the takedown just because you've projected your ideology onto them and tried to appease them with your white guilt. Okay, they at the end of the day will kill you, and that is the end goal, to destroy, steal, and kill Americans and take down America from within. Look at the Somalians. They have come here to steal from Americans. And we've seen that over $100 billion in fraud from 2015 through the Somalian daycares and healthcare services that they say they're providing. And then they get the tax grants through these various nonprofits. And then they take the money and they run, and they don't actually provide the services that they're saying. It's a scam. They're Somalian scammers. Their goal is to steal, kill, and destroy Americans. And the Ben Hovlands, or the bleeding heart liberals here in America who are U.S. citizens, they project their ideology because it's too unsettling for them to sit with that reality that these people are here to kill you, steal from you, and destroy your life and destroy the culture and the home that you've made for yourself here. And it's almost like putting your head in the sand, and you deal with that reality however you deal with it. I deal with it with calling it out and telling the truth and saying that, hey, we have to stop this. Somebody on the left will say, well, that's not really what they're doing, and I'm going to project my ideology onto them, and they're actually just like me. Right? And it's naive, and it's not the truth. So Ben Hovland, let's get to him. He's also in these Signal chats. He's with Minnesota Public Radio. Shocker. I used to work for public radio. Yeah, these people, I'm not shocked that somebody from public radio is a part of this group. So he covers with NPR, Minnesota Public Radio. It was a formerly publicly funded outlet, i.e. taxpayer dollars. But he lists his profession in the group chat as somebody who covers immigration for NPR, the Minnesota Public Radio. Okay, so he lists his profession in this group chat. He has now officially locked his X profile. Okay, so that's recent, since Signalgate has kind of come out. NPR, Sergio Martinez Beltran is a listed participant in this group chat, and his profession is also listed with his contact. Okay, so Ben Hovland was on the scene, just so happened to be on the scene, covering protests when Renee Good was shot. Okay, we know Renee Good was in this Ice Watch group, the Signal group chat. And we know Hovland looks to be, at least his name and his title are in this group chat. So we can presume that he is a user in this group chat and a part of this Ice Watch group. He happened to get onto the scene and cover the Renee Good shooting. Okay, so a viral TikTok interview with NPR, Minnesota Public Radio News, photojournalist Ben Hovland, who was on the scene covering the deadly Minneapolis ICE incident, reveals Renee Good was the lead SUV. And we've talked about this, where Renee Nicole Good, she was blocking ICE agents from driving down the road. Okay, she was not only guiding, or not only a part of this caravan blocking the ICE agents, she was the lead SUV blocking these federal agents. And I mean, this is military tactics. You could even, look up blockades. Like, it was calculated. It looks like it was a calculated obstruction. So Hovland confirms that she was extremely effective at obstructing traffic. Okay, so she was the lead SUV here and obstructing that traffic and obstructing the officers from getting to where they were going to go. So that tells us that it was 100% intentional, that she was trying to obstruct officers. And when agents went to go remove her, and you remember the video where he's pulling on the door, telling her to get out of the car, she reversed and accelerated forward towards a nice agent, prompting, of course, the fatal shots. Let's look at the TikTok here by Ben Hovland, this NPR photojournalist. Take a look.
Her out of there because she was the main car leading the protest, is my understanding. I talked to another guy who was driving behind her, but she was very successful in blocking traffic. She was doing what she was set out to do, and so they wanted to get her the hell out of there. Yeah.
So it looked like she was impeding ICE vehicles.
Definitely.
So she was impeding ICE vehicles, and she was the lead vehicle. And I'm sure that this blockade, this obstruction, the blocking of federal agents, we don't know because the signal chats are deleted from the day prior, and then they start a new chat every single day. But we don't have the signal chats where this was all set up, where Renee Good might have been in a signal chat where they were planning this blockade. They were saying, okay, Renee, you're going to go and you're going to be the lead SUV in this blockade. And you're going to sit there. And we're going to line up behind you and, hold down the fort, Renee. Right? Like, this is possible, communication that happened in single and who else is in the signal chat? Ben Hovland. Okay, Ben, we're going to have you go out there and film everything on the ground. Use your photojournalist skills, because that's your job. Renee, you are the agitator. You are the blocking that's going to be happening. And like I said, they have emojis with their certain job positions, like what they're supposed to be doing. Dispatch, license plate reader, tracking, these ICE agents. So it's coordinated, sophisticated. Amanda Kaler, okay, former staffer, and Minnesota State Senate candidate Anita Smithson. These are some names of the usernames, okay, and they're using their real names, okay, and we can presume that these are the people. But like I said, no official determination that these are the people connected to those usernames. Okay, so the Walz administration, she was a former Walz staffer, Amanda Kaler. Then you have the Minnesota State Senate candidate, Anita Smithson. Okay, so she's a politician. She's in on the signal gate. And then you have Minneapolis politician David Snyder. They were all listed as users in this signal chat. And Kaler and Smithson, they are serving as admin. Snyder is a dispatcher. Okay, so some of these elected officials are admins. Some of them are just little worker bees within the signal chat. But the biggest name of all that was sort of exposed in the signal chat, and like I said, no official determination, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Okay, so this is the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota. Biggest name of all, independent journalist Higbee. Cam Higbee is working to determine the identities of some of these signal chat participants, these anti-ICE signal chat participants. So we don't know for sure if this is Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Okay. But Flanagan is listed as an admin in the chat. And this is a little bit further. So it's not her real name. So it's not Peggy Flanagan listed as the username. It's actually called Flan Southside. Okay, that's the username. Now, unlike, Ben Hovland, who has his name and title listed there, unlike, Sergio Martinez Beltran, NPR, he's listed as a participant. He's got his contact there with his title, journalist, NPR journalist. This is a little bit different because it's a kind of like nickname, I guess, Flan Southside. So we don't know if this is in fact Peggy Flanagan, but she's listed as whoever Flan Southside is, an admin of the Signal chat. Now, this is fascinating. There's somebody named Boogie, and there's speculation that that could be possibly Tim Walz. Let me show you. I think that this could help if I show you what this chat kind of looks like. Okay, here we go. So she's a dispatcher, Flan Southside. Let me share the screen. You'll see, and like I said, there's different titles and job roles for everybody. So this is Kim Higby. Here we go. Those are the emojis. So you put an emoji next to your name, and that is the job of the day, what you are doing that day. And then you can put another emoji for if you're working a certain shift. But here are the users. Okay, so Cam Higby, he's in on this. And then you've got Boogie and Flan Southside, who are the administrators of this Signal chat. Now, Flanagan, she is the first female Native American. She's part of some well-known tribe there. It's the White Earth Band of Ujbe. So she's Native American, despite the, last name. That's her mother's last name, actually, Flanagan. She's not Irish, right? She's the first female Native American to serve in that position as lieutenant governor. Higby stated that he's not 100% certain that that is her, and that the username belongs to Flanagan, but there is some circumstantial evidence showing that it could be her. Now, I do want to share with you another tidbit about the Signal chat. This is fascinating. So there was a tipster, this guy, he's just a random guy in Minnesota, and he messaged some of the people in one of the Minnesota insurrectionist Signal chats. Okay, so this is just a random Minnesota resident. The user indicated that he was communicating with some of these people in the Signal chat, and he was communicating with this one user, and I'll show you it's going to scroll here just so that way I have my references. This is from Cam Higby. And if you were to stop and read all of this conversation, you'd find out that this guy, he's a Minneapolis resident. He wanted to infiltrate one of these Signal chats just like Cam Higby did. And he decided to start having a conversation with one of the users. And this user, Sky Whispers, indicated that he or she intends to flee the state because we are, quote, in so much trouble. And this user, Sky, said, "We're all effed." And then he or she started talking about Cuban contacts. So this is bizarro. Like I said, Cuba, one of those South American countries, not exactly a friend of ours right now because China has infiltrated Cuba, Colombia, Venezuela, a lot of African countries as well, Brazil. We've got in the Western Hemisphere, China infiltrating the Western Hemisphere, and Trump has been trying to stop that, obviously, with the taking over of Venezuela. Obviously, he's making moves in Greenland to try to secure the Western Hemisphere and keep our adversaries out of it. But that's wild. Everybody knows that they're in trouble. Even this guy, the state representative, Falconer, okay, he admitted, he goes, "I'd understand if you didn't want to be a part of the chat." What they're doing is against the law. They're funding, they're organizing, They're conducting military-like operations, a blockade of our federal agents from conducting operations. They're receiving funding from foreigners, possibly adversaries. I would say our relationship with Canada isn't great, and Canada and China are kind of like this at the moment. In fact, Canadians are freaking out that China's going to try to buy or take over Canada. That's a real thing. And they're like begging on social media Donald Trump to take over Canada like he did Greenland. Real thing. Because they don't want to be under Chinese communist dictatorship. So arguably, we've got foreign adversaries funding this thing. George Soros, no friend of ours, funding these nonprofit organizations who are turning around and funding these ICE Watch groups. And they're all realizing, like, we're in a lot of trouble. And I think that the single gate, the exposure of all of this, you're going to start to see people flee, possibly even the country, because this is treasonous, insurrectionist type behavior. And the crimes, the consequences to those crimes are immense. And regardless if Flanagan, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, is involved, she has stirred up the local activist. So whether Tim Walz and Flanagan, some of these bigger names, are actually involved, they've been implicated. We don't know if they're for sure involved. We do know that they've been stirring up these people, these ICE Watch groups. And yesterday, Keith Ellison even made a comment about nonprofit organizations helping immigrants, right? So I wouldn't be shocked to find out if this Flan Southside is actually Peggy Flanagan and if Boogie is actually Tim Walz, and they're listed as administrators. But regardless of all of that, even if they're not directly involved in this Signal chat, we know that they're stirring them up, the people who are involved in these chats. And they're not doing anything to investigate this and take down these radical terrorist groups, insurrectionists. Actually, just recently, Peggy, she instructed leftists to put their bodies on the line to protest. Take a listen. This is real.
Are sick and tired of your government being ransacked by Donald Trump and his minions, literally taking away healthcare from your neighbors, stealing food off of the table from seniors and children, and generally being uncool with the fact that our neighbors are being disappeared. P.S. Without due process, it is just called kidnapping. Then show up and use your voice, put your body on the line, and use non-violent direct action, which is one of the most important tools in our toolbox to say, I am not okay. I will not go silently into the night. I will join arms with my friends, with my neighbors, and with people who generally believe that folks should be able to afford their lives, should be treated with dignity and as human beings. Then we need to see you there.
Wow. Put your body on the line, but don't use, violence or anything, but be willing to die for this cause. Bizarro. I like this comment. Somebody said, give Minnesota over to Canada. Yeah, I like that one. Just give Minnesota over to Canada. They hate the US. Yeah. And what the problem is here in Minnesota, like I said, they're just bleeding heart liberals. Like a lot of people in these Signal chats, they're bleeding heart liberals, and they're projecting their ideology onto these immigrants. But these immigrants, they don't think that way. They're not like your classical liberal. The way I think of it, they're like all free healthcare, social programs, the government helping. And to an extent, I'm not even all that like it's fake and gay and stupid. And I don't believe that as a Republican, right? But these Democrats, left-wingers, they've got this ideology that we should all come together and be neighbors, right? And the government should help us. I am an individualist. I'm pro-individualism, pro-capitalism. I'm not a collectivist, okay, or into collectivism. These people are, and I'm not even necessarily against that, okay? Because that's just the way the two-party system has kind of lined up. We've got different ideas of how to run things here in America, okay? The problem is that these people, they've got this white guilt, and they're projecting this ideology, and they're kind of forcing this ideology onto immigrants. And to be frank with you, they don't hold that ideology. They're not about seeing you as a neighbor. They're not concerned with getting help, from our government. They're concerned about exploiting the government and stealing from taxpayers and destroying America from within. That is what a lot of these immigrants are doing and have set out to do. They break our laws. They skirt the system. They get CDLs despite not speaking English. And they are here to exploit the system and exploit the government and our rules and our values because they hate us inherently. They've been raised all their life in their Eastern culture, whatever culture they're coming from, African culture. They've been raised all their life to believe that their culture is superior, just like I have been, right? I've been raised up to believe that America is the best. But the only difference is here is that I know that we are the best. So I don't have to go to other countries and try to change, what they've got going on, because I've got the best right here. They resent it, and then they come here and try to change everything and exploit our look at the Somalian daycares. They come here, they don't like America. They're into cousin marriages over there and bananas and rice. And then they come here and then they exploit the taxpayers. They open up fraudulent businesses, get taxpayer money, and then spend it on lavish lifestyles, luxury hotels, and fancy cars, the Somalians. And they're not doing that because they love America. They're doing that because they hate it. And they don't care about America, and they don't see you as a neighbor. Okay. And that's the thing, is a lot of these people in these signal chats, it's sad because I'm sure there's some of them who truly hate America and want to take down America from within and have that agenda. But a lot of them are just projecting their ideology onto these immigrants, and they think that these immigrants have the same belief system, and they don't. And they truly see them as neighbors, and they're just really that messed up in the head and naive that they're not comfortable with sitting with the reality that immigrants, these illegal immigrants, don't like you and they want to hurt you. Okay. And they're not comfortable with that, so they project. It's clear that Walz, Frey, and Flanagan want this insurrection to continue by their actions, by what they say. They have effectively, sort of, these insurrectionists taken the focus off the massive fraud. $100 billion over the course of 10 years is the number I'm looking at. And the number, and I'm citing, what's the kid's name? The Quality Learning Center kid. They found this number together, $100 billion since 2015. Like, this is massive fraud, and the focus has been taken off of that. And, we want to know how much Walz knew. We want to know how much Flanagan knew. We want to know how much these Minnesota officials knew, politicians knew about that fraud, and whether they were complicit in that fraud, outright complicit, or, turned a blind eye and just kind of said, do what you're going to do. Or did they just not know? We need to know these things, but they're, with their rhetoric, they're diverting the attention off of that massive fraud. So related to that, I wanted to get to this. Quite literally, Alex Pretti effectively kind of maybe diverted all of our attention from what was actually happening that day at that address. Okay, because the news cycle is obviously dominated with Alex Pretti, how he died. Okay, and we're all doing frame by frame, breaking down that video of him dying and trying to figure out, did he have a gun? Did his gun go off? Did they take the gun off his person before he was shot? We're all trying to figure that out. But here's what was going down at that address at the time. Okay, so 2614 Nicollet Okay, this is I think I said 11,000 square foot. It's even smaller than that. Wow. 1,100 square foot. That's insane. Okay, so just a 4-bedroom house, is much larger than that. I would say this is about a maybe two-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house. Okay, this is pretty small. 1,100 square feet building. Okay, and it is home to 8 businesses. Now, I don't know about you, but running one business out of a 3-bedroom home would be difficult. Running 8 of them is impossible. So here are the businesses listed at that address: Smart Therapy Center, New American Development Center, Nicollet Senior Center, United Wellness Center, African American Family Services, Millennium Health Services, Bloom Home Health, and Global Interpreting Innovations. Now, all of these businesses sound fake. I mean, come on. Like, what do you even do at Global Interpreting Innovations? Okay. Like, how many of these businesses in this 1,100 square foot, this is like equivalent to a 2-bedroom household, really. How many of these 8 businesses are taking federal dollars in the form of a grant? So a lot of these are like healthcare service or providers. Some of them, I don't even know what they would possibly do. Global Interpreting Innovations. Is that like a translator? I don't know. Sounds fake. Like, what product or service do you provide at Global Interpreting Innovations? I couldn't guess. How many of these businesses are taking federal dollars and they're just really shell businesses, not providing any kind of services, and they are perpetuating fraud? I want to know. I mean, this is the address that these Border Patrol agents were at. Were they conducting an operation associated with that address? And were they investigating and or apprehending people associated with that address in those businesses at the time when Alex Pretti obstructed these agents? Right? And, Tim Walz behind or in front of everybody says that, oh, we're coordinating. We're trying to, we don't want fraud here. We're coordinating with law enforcement. Our law enforcement is coordinating. Okay. If there is in fact coordination happening, who's tipping off these people in the ICE groups and letting them know where these ICE operations are happening? ICE watch groups, hey, go to this address. The ICE is there. How do they know ICE is there? How do these administrators in these signal chats know that? Well, we know that a lot of the administrators are elected officials, politicians, people with connections. Are they obtaining information through this investigation, using that information, putting it in the group chat, and then having those ICE Watch groupies go to this business and obstruct justice and obstruct investigations and operations to take down the massive Minnesota fraud or exploit it or expose it? It's no wonder the feds were there, right? This address is fascinating. There's 8 businesses being run out of an 1,100 square foot building. I thought it was much bigger than that. It's not. Okay. So I guess it's hard to find, not really, a commercial building in Minneapolis that doesn't have 20 or 30 government funded immigration run health service centers listed at one address. This is freaky. You've got, 8 at this 1,100 square foot property. And some of them are healthcare services. Some of them, I don't even really know what they do. Are they immigrant run? Are they receiving tax dollars? Like, this is the question. This is the real story, right? And we were so caught up in the Alex Pretti thing. Was it a plan, right, to go there to that address and obstruct that operation, to rile up the ICE agents to a point, or the Border Patrol agents to a point where they'd have to fire shots, and then the story is no longer the ICE operation and what they uncovered at this business and who they apprehended associated with this business, with these businesses, the Somalians who might be involved. The story is no longer that. The story is Alex Pretti. It's a diversion, you see, and 184 national provider identifier numbers are listed at that business. So what does that mean? So national provider identifier numbers, or an NPI, it's a unique 10-digit identification number for covered healthcare providers. It's mandated by HIPAA for electronic transactions, billings, and administrative purposes. So who needs an NPI? Any healthcare provider, including individuals. That's a type 1. So healthcare provider being a doctor, a nurse, or a dentist. Okay, you have an NPI if you're a doctor or if you're a nurse or you're a dentist. Okay, type 2 would be organizations. So every hospital has their own NPI. Group practices, they have an NPI. So there's type 1 and 2. Having 180, what did I say? 184. That's how many national provider identifier numbers are listed as doing business at this address. So that means there's 184 doctors crammed or in nurses, in groups, right? Crammed into an 1,100 square foot building. No. So this is a preposterous number that can't be correct. Okay, there can't be that many practitioners. There can't be that much going on in an 1,100 square foot building. Okay, and it begs the question: why hasn't this raised red flags before? Why was ICE there, or Border Patrol? There was some sort of federal operation happening at that address. Why? And then that address was thrown into a signal chat. Then who shows up? Alex Pretti and 50 other anti-ICE agitators. Alex Pretti gets shot. Nobody talks about what's going on at that address or what the operation was actually going on there. I don't know. Crazy stuff. Glad I could cover all of that. That took a lot of time. The signal chat being exposed. This is Signalgate. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the program, super chats, I'll take them at the end. I usually take chats at the end, but you can also visit patriotpumpenergy.com. This is our premium pre-workout. Great stuff. You just take one scoop, mix it in with some water. There's 150 milligrams of caffeine in here. That's not an exorbitant amount. We pair that with a black pepper extract so that way the caffeine lasts longer. There's no reason after like really 200 milligrams, even after 150, which is why we chose 150. There's no extra effect caffeine has on you. It's just really bad for your heart. So 150 with the black pepper extract, you're going to be focused all day long. It makes your caffeine work for you. Get it today. Use promo code ConservativeCat, patriotpumpenergy.com. Let's talk about Karoline Leavitt because I really liked her briefing yesterday. I don't watch them a ton, but she boiled down sort of the Trump administration's plans here on out on how to bring law and order to Minneapolis. Now, here is my prediction. I think that this is going to ramp down a little bit, the mass deportations in Minnesota because of the midterm elections. I think that Trump is going to call it off for political reasons. And that's going to really piss me off because it doesn't matter at this point. We have footage of Renee Good. We've got footage of Alex Pretti. They're going to keep this going all the way up until the midterms. Okay, so the media. So pulling back now is not going to have an effect on the midterms. That would be a stupid reason to ramp this down. And I hope that this move where he's sending Tom Homan in, taking Kristi Noem out, I hope that this isn't like a way of ramping it down. Anyway, so this was the first official White House briefing since Alex Pretti died, leftist protester Alex Pretti died by a Customs and Border Patrol agent. And this was the first kind of press conference after those events that happened over the weekend. He died on Saturday. So that was, of course, on top of everybody's mind in the briefing room. Leavitt, she spoke first of the administration's disgust for the efforts of the Democrats and hard left agitators to disrupt the will of the people, which at the end of the day, you know, I say this all of the time, don't like it, go change it via law, right? Everybody's like, oh, they've got First Amendment rights. Alex Pretti, he's got Second Amendment rights. Okay, First Amendment rights are not punching people and biting the fingers off of ICE agents. Okay, that's not First Amendment. I don't know where the hell you got that from, first of all. Second of all, Second Amendment is not carrying a gun and then agitating, obstructing justice, resisting arrest with a loaded gun, and then not expecting to die at the hands of law enforcement. Like, that's just misjudgment, okay, or poor judgment on behalf of Alex Pretti, where he was, you know, going into a situation, a volatile situation, an operation, by the way, at that address, and he was obstructing. It was a woman who's being pepper sprayed, and they were pepper spraying her and apprehending her, and then he rips these ICE agents off of her, like they're obstructing what they're supposed to be doing, you know, arresting people. Some of these agitators, that's what CPB was doing, and they were conducting an operation. She was, and like I said, Alex Pretti wasn't the only one there. It was like 50 of them. Why? Because the signal chat threw the address in there and said, go to this address. Anyway, the will of the people. We voted for Donald Trump because we wanted federal immigration officers to conduct these mass immigrations or mass deportation operations. That's what we wanted. We were sick of Joe Biden and the 20 million illegals that poured over the border. We didn't want that anymore, so we elected President Donald Trump. Donald Trump has spoken about the vile treatment of federal immigration officers who are just carrying out what he was elected to do. Okay, Donald Trump was elected to do mass deportations. These immigration officers are just carrying out what the people wanted. Okay, and if you don't like it, you change it at the ballot box. You don't. I think it's so fascinating. We're pro-democracy, you know. Save democracy is what Democrats always say. That's so fascinating because every time you're not in power, there is violent unrest and violent protests in the streets. It's almost like that's not democracy at all, and that's tyranny. You're getting people so afraid that they almost feel obligated to vote Democrat, otherwise they're going to die, or otherwise their cities are going to burn. That is not democracy. That is ruling with an iron fist tyranny. And if you don't like it, vote somebody else in 28. Okay, vote somebody else in the midterms if you don't like it. Carrying out these violent, really sophisticated, funded, insurrectionist protests, terrorism, that is not the way you get what you want in this country. It's illegal. What they're doing. But anyway, you can go vote for somebody else, or here's an idea: go try to change the federal immigration law that you obviously have such a problem with. Try to make it to where, you know, hey, we can't, or hey, let's change federal immigration law to say that you don't have to be a citizen in this country to reside in this country. Okay, come up with the bill, introduce the bill. It'll get shut down because it's unconstitutional, but you can try. But they don't try because they know that sovereignty is the best, and there is really no way to change it because, hey, national sovereignty is a thing, and we have to have it. It's constitutionally demanded, and our founders kind of knew something about sovereignty. Anyway, so Leavitt, during this press conference, she said that the left is being, defiant, and their efforts are turning deadly. She also laid out a path forward into restoring order in Minnesota. And she demanded that the local officials there, so your police departments, your prisons, that they coordinate and they turn over the illegal aliens, the illegal criminal aliens. So on top of entering the country illegally, they do other crimes. And like I said, that's not out of the norm because these people hate America and they're here to do one thing, which is to destroy America from within. And the way they do that is by breaking additional laws on top of entering the country illegally. So she said, hey, local law enforcement, prisons, you have to work with federal officials. You have to round them up when they're in the prisons, when they're in the jail, and you apprehend them for other crimes such as stealing or drug dealing, right? When you apprehend them for other crimes, you need to keep them informed, call up the federal officials, not let them loose out into the community, no cash bail policies via no cash. You need to call the federal officials, round them up, hand them over to the federal officials for deportation after you've processed them for their additional crimes. That's what you need to do. So let's take a listen to Karoline Leavitt at the press conference. Here we are.
These threats from our country in cities from Los Angeles to New York and yes, Minneapolis. Yet Democrat leaders in Minnesota with sanctuary city policies have actively defied federal immigration law and the will of the people. And as a result of that defiance, 2 Minnesotans have now tragically lost their lives on the streets of Tim Walz's state. It is President Trump's hope and wish and demand for the resistance and chaos to end today. That's why President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning, and he has outlined a clear and simple path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. Number 1, Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, and all Democrat leaders should turn over all criminal illegal aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with any illegal aliens with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. Number 2, state and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens who are arrested by local police. And then thirdly, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes, especially violent crimes. If Governor Walz and Mayor Frey implement these common sense cooperative measures that I will add have already been implemented in nearly every single other state across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground in Minnesota. ICE and local law enforcement can peacefully work together as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions.
Okay. Leavitt, she also urged Congress to pass immediately. In Congress, they're just a joke at this point. I mean, I don't know why we didn't pass this day one. Oh, wait. Yes, I do. We've got a bunch of rhino Republicans and a bunch of establishment type folks who would rather appease their foreign entities who are funding their lives than be America first. But this should have happened a long time ago, where legislation ends all sanctuary cities once and for all. She said that American cities should be safe sanctuaries for law-abiding citizens only. Okay. And here's the thing, Congress, they're not going to pass legislation like that because we've got too many people in there who are not interested in America, but rather they're foreign entities who fund them. So of course they want sanctuary cities because the foreign entities, they want people to come in and infiltrate America, destroy her from within. Right. For example, Governor J.B. Pritzker. I like to point to this company, Goshen. They make electric vehicle batteries. They're CCP backed. We gave them all kinds of tax breaks to come here to the United States and to come to Illinois, specifically tax credits, breaks to the tune of like 500 mil to come here and set up shop. Okay. And when you have governors like J.B. Pritzker, like Tim Walz, who have sold out to these foreigners, they back them, they fund them, or even Congress, they back them, they fund them. They're not going to do anything that's pro-America. Why? Because it will piss off their donors. Okay, so they are not an America First Congress. So I'm not seeing legislation anytime soon that's going to end sanctuary cities, because that would be America First, and a lot of members of Congress aren't America First. Okay, so she called on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to continue to do the right thing and work with President Donald Trump to keep the American people safe. Apparently, Walz and Trump had a productive phone call yesterday, and he had a productive phone call with Jacob Frey, the Minneapolis mayor, and that they are on a similar wavelength. So my thing would be, is Trump going to pull back because of the midterms? That would just be stupid politically, because you have the media who have these clips already of the anti-ICE agitators, and like they're going to be filming this or playing this stuff on a loop all the way up until the midterms, and they're going to be dominating the news cycle with it. So even if you pull out now, you're not going to appease the left politically into voting for your side. Republicans at this point, a lot of them might vote for Democrats just to see their streets not be burned or their cities not be burned down to the ground. You are not winning this politically if you're going to be pulling back or ramping it down. But I guess the White House border czar, Tom Homan, who I love, is going to oversee now federal immigration efforts in Minnesota. He has a directive from President Donald Trump, Tom Homan. This, said Leavitt at the Monday briefing, this is not a rebuke of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, who oversees both ICE and the CBP, Custom Border Patrol. She noted that Noem enjoys the confidence of the president and is busy working on the federal disaster response efforts that are happening after the winter storm Fern. I didn't even know it had a name, but there was a winter storm that came through. Tennessee got hit pretty bad. North Carolina. Look, I don't know. Is this like an attempt to try to ramp it down a bit ahead of the midterms? I don't know. I sure hope not. I hope Tom Homan does what he does best and just goes in like a bull in a china shop, right? Speaking of Tom Homan, Leavitt had a great clapback for a reporter who questioned Homan's new assignment. Homan, as we talked about yesterday, he actually worked under President Barack Obama. Barack Obama's deportations far surpass President Donald Trump's deportations. At this rate, we are not going to get rid of the 20 million that came over the border under President Joe Biden's open border. Okay. At this rate, we're not even close. Okay. Barack Obama had stronger numbers than Trump. So Homan, he was the subject of a glowing 2016 Washington Post article that applauded his efforts in deporting illegals. Okay, under the Barack Obama administration. Okay, so Homan had received an award from Barack Obama for his service of deporting illegals. Karoline actually brought the receipts. Take a listen.
Decades for his experience working in law enforcement. In fact, this is a Washington Post headline from 9 years ago, 2016. Meet the man the White House has honored for deporting illegal immigrants. And I would remind everyone in this room that it was former President Barack Hussein Obama who awarded a medal to Mr. Homan. So he's obviously very qualified. He has the full trust and faith of the president. He will continue to have these meetings in the hopes that ICE and local law enforcement can cooperate and work together to have successful immigration enforcement, as we've seen in almost every other state across the country. Jake.
Secondly, Caroline.
Okay, so I don't know if it's a move by the Trump administration to kind of tamper down the mass deportations or turn down the temperature there in Minneapolis. I mean, if so, I mean, I get it. At this point, people are dying. People are rioting in the streets. Like, it's getting pretty bad. I get why they'd be doing that, but I have a feeling that it comes from a political motivation where they want to win the midterms, and they think that if they bend the knee to the left, this has been proven not to work. If you bend the knee to the left, then they'll ramp it down too, right? If you make a concession to the left, that they will, be kind to you. No, the media is going to take these clips and they are going to just run it on a loop on mainstream media. And they're gonna continue it all the way up into the midterm. So it doesn't matter if we ramp it down now. Leavitt reminded the media that, hey, there is a cost to having violent immigrants, violent illegals loose in the streets of America. The lives of Lake and Riley, Jocelyn Narunge, those are just a couple to name. I know Emma Schaefer here in Illinois, those lives matter to the president. And that's why he's doing these mass deportation operations. He should be digging his heels in more and conducting deportations at a level that Barack Obama did. I don't know why he's not. He says that this is an utmost priority for him, the lives of people like Lake and Riley and Jocelyn Narunge, who die at the hands of illegal immigrants. So I don't know. They've got to double down on the deportations. They've got to do more. And they've also got to invoke the Insurrection Act. I think that's pretty clear at this point, especially with Single Gate, the group chat exposing, donors list of 4,000 plus donors, donors being from foreign countries. At this point, I mean, if you don't invoke the Insurrection Act, it's just stupid. They keep saying, yes, we're going to invoke the Insurrection Act. They never do. They keep saying we're going to do mass deportations. They never do. And if you concede to the left or bend the knee to the left and slow it all down just for the sake of having peace, you're going to find out that they're not going to ever be peaceful, and they're going to make your lives a living hell once they get back into power. So I don't know. We've got to really dig our heels in. We'll see if it happens. Smash that like button, share this out with your friends. This is the Conservative Cat Show. I've got one more story, then we're going to wrap it up. 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. is a daily show. Be sure to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button right now. I see you. You haven't subscribed yet. So do it right now. And why does Illinois keep doing dumb things? They keep doing the same dumb things over and over and over and over again. And it bothers the hell out of me that they're even talking about rent control. They act shocked, when nothing improves here in the state, but yet they just talk about dumb things all of the time, and they introduce dumb legislation. Really, that's what we're talking about? Rent control? So I'm Conservative Cat. We're talking about rent control. We're talking about local referendums. This is a bill that sounds compassionate. Oh, well, we want the tenants, we want to make sure that they're not paying exorbitant rent, and those dirty, dirty corporate evil greed landlords, we got to make sure that they're not overcharging, and we're going to cap the rent, and we're going to control the prices which these landlords can charge. Sounds compassionate until you think about it for more than 5 seconds, and then you're like, oh wait, no, that's a really bad idea. Rent control. So Illinois Democrats are pushing Senate Bill 2884. This is a proposal that would let local governments hold referendums on rent control. Okay, so they're kind of being sneaky about this. Right now, there is a ban on rent control. Okay, in Illinois, which is, I know, shocking. It was somehow passed in the 90s, and I'm like, whoa, they actually did something right post 1970. That's when things really started to change, and they just got silly after 1970. But in 1990, in the 1990s, they actually had a ban on rent control, and at a statewide level, they said, hey, we can't do rent control. local governments, nobody can do rent control. Now they've introduced something that says that, oh, well, local governments can do rent control if it's brought to referendum. So supporters say, hey, this isn't a statewide mandate. This is empowering local voters. And it sounds all nice and cute. Democracy, local control, sunshine, rainbows, kittens, yay. But here's the problem. Local or rent control is idiotic. And just because you vote on it at a local level does not make it any less idiotic. It's bad policy. And you can't just slap a ballot question on it and then call it good policy because the voters voted it in. Okay. This bill exists in Illinois because Illinois has banned rent control statewide back in the 1990s for very good reason. Every sane person, every serious economist on planet Earth agrees that rent control reduces housing supply, it discourages development, and it ultimately drives prices up. Look at places like San Fran, New York. They've got sort of rent control in those areas, and it's way more costly to live there in those places than anywhere else in the country. Okay, so instead of learning from history and heeding the warnings of economists, Illinois lawmakers are doing what they do best. They're repackaging their failure, which high property taxes make it impossible to live here in the state of Illinois. People are fleeing, causing the tax base to bear even more burden. And then they're repackaging it, and they're calling it innovation. Like, hey, we're going to fix the affordability crisis with this new innovative idea of rent control. But really, the affordability crisis can be attributed to our own failure as lawmakers and policymakers. So proponents argue that rent control could help in high-cost areas. So let me translate that. High-cost areas means Chicago. Okay, they always mean Chicago. But once again, the rest of the state is being dragged into this policy debate because of Chicago's mismanagement. They have overtaxation over there, okay? And they have crazy anti-development regulations because they pick the winners over the losers, and they only allow, like, for example, like, let's say BlackRock to develop and build apartment buildings in Chicago, and they've tanked the housing supply. Not to mention, there's overtaxation going on. People can't afford rent at this BlackRock huge complex. They can't afford it because the overtaxation, and people are fleeing from that state, or from that city, and from the state, and the tax burden is becoming heavier as people leave. Okay, so Chicago has really exorbitant rents, cost of living. It's really high there. So they've introduced this policy, and they said, well, it's going to address the high cost of living in high cost of living areas, aka Chicago. Okay, because Chicago, they haven't met a tax that they haven't implemented. They just continue with the taxing. Downstate Illinois, they're suffering too, because they're dealing with all the same problems. But downstate Illinois is suffering because people are leaving, jobs are disappearing, so communities are being completely wiped out, and property taxes are crushing homeowners. So instead of fixing those root causes, what Springfield's answer is more government control. Okay, because when has that ever gone wrong? So the bill sponsor, hasn't really published this and hasn't really made a statement on this. And it's said in the Center Square he did not comment on it. And look, when lawmakers don't defend their legislation publicly or make it public, it's probably a good sign that, hey, this only sounds good in activist circles, and it falls apart under scrutiny. This has been introduced several times. Realtors Association is really against rent control. A lot of sane people are really against rent control, but they introduce it like every year because they're really trying for it. Some of these progressives within this state legislature. But make no mistake, rent control has been tried over and over in places like New York, California, and in Europe, and the results are always the same. Fewer rental units. What winds up happening is you've got developers and these landlords. They say, man, I can't, make a return on this. I can't profit off of it, at least somewhat, or even break even. I'm leaving. Okay. So there's going to be fewer rental units, fewer developments. There's going to be deferred maintenance, right? If I'm not getting a return, not enough to, maintain the rental property, if I can't collect rent, that is, enough for me to maintain the property, I'm going to just not maintain it. I'm going to defer it. So you see that in these places like Europe, New York, California with rent control policies. Small landlords are definitely pushed out. So you're going to have fewer rental units, but there's going to be way less kind of developers, and it's all going to kind of be one player, one or two. It's big corporate players. They're going to survive this, and rent actually increases, because it increases in that, it's controlled. There's only a couple of players. So let's just say BlackRock, the developer of choice, let's say in a place like Chicago, because they're the ones that are contributing to Democrat politicians that are there. Anyway, they're there. They're actually going to make sure that BlackRock doesn't leave because they're the only ones there now. Okay. And the way they make sure that BlackRock doesn't leave, BlackRock sets the number rather than the government, because they're the actual players in all of this. They're the ones contributing to the campaign coffers of the Democrat politicians. So they're the ones pulling the strings here. What this is, and they won't tell you this, what this is a gift for big corporate players that are chosen simply because they contribute to politicians. Now, these small landlords get pushed out, mom and pops, because they're apolitical. They're just kind of trying to make a living, and they're in the property business, the property ownership business, and they're property owners, and they're in this business. But the government comes out and says that you have to, only charge $700 a month for rent. And you were charging like $1,200 before, and you're like, oh shoot, I'm not going to be able to maintain that property. I'm not going to be able to keep the lights on. I'm not going to be able to do anything on $700. And then they'll phase out those small landlords first. Okay, and once they leave and are pushed out because of the rent control, what ultimately will happen is the big corporate players, they're going to say, well, we're the only ones in town now, and we've got all the leverage. We're contributing to your campaign coffers. What we need to do is we need to set these rent prices to $1,700. Small mom and pop, they were charging you $1,200. Give it some time. The big corporate players, they'll eat the cost for a couple of years, right? They'll abide by that $700 a month number for a good period of time, until the small landlords are phased out. They've destroyed all competition. And then once they're the only players that have survived this, then they'll come in with their big ask and they'll say, okay, now we want to charge $1,500 a month. Whereas small landlord, mom and pop, they were charging you $1,200. And you were getting a pretty sick deal. Fast forward a few years, the rent is going to increase. Okay. But the Illinois politicians, they know the result ultimately, okay? But they don't care because they are controlled by these corporate players in the housing industry. So here's where this gets real honest. Andrew Chesney, State Senator Andrew Chesney, he's quoted in the Center Square. He cuts through all the nonsense and he says what politicians hate hearing. Look, housing affordability, this crisis, this economic problem, it's not a landlord problem. It's not these landlords who are charging too much. What's actually happening, they would love, mom and pop would love to charge 700 and, make their return on the 700 number, but they have to charge the 1200 because property taxes are insane, because they have to live too. Okay. And the taxation is at a state and local, we have the highest state and local tax burden. Housing affordability is an economic problem. It is not a landlord problem. It is not greed that is keeping the rent up. Okay. And they say it's about housing affordability. Democrats don't give a crap about a housing affordability and the way you stay comfortable. Okay. They don't give a crap about you. Really, what this is about is icing out small landlords so the big corporate players are surviving through the rent control process. They go through a couple of years of, rent control. They might not have the highest profit margins, but at the end of the day, they'll weather it. The small landlords won't. They'll ultimately leave. That tanks housing supply. And then there's only a couple of players left. And, places like BlackRock, they'll raise the rent because they're the only players left and they've got all the leverage. Like, that's what that's all about. It's not about housing affordability. Democrats don't care if you are comfortable in your life. They don't care about you. They care about them. Okay. So, but let's just, for argument's sake here, say it was about housing affordability. There is a way to combat housing affordability, and that is to fix the wage growth. Illinois wage growth lags behind the national average. If people's wages were growing, they'd be able to afford rent, and we are lagging behind. So we have to fix that. Population loss is accelerating, which increases the tax burden for everybody left. So we have to address, why people are leaving. And, this is not a failure of capitalism. This is Illinois failing, which is why housing is so unaffordable in the state. They can't regulate their way out of this affordability crisis. And it's really not even about that. Really what this is about is making sure their friends are at the tippity top, and it's about control and giving their friends control. In exchange, their campaign coffers are lined. But you can't regulate your way out of the affordability crisis when your state is actively being hostile towards employers, homeowners, and developers. They're hostile to certain employers. They're hostile to certain developers because they're not the ones who are contributing to their campaigns. They're only friendly to the winners in the state, what they deem to be winners, and the winners happen to contribute to their campaigns. So Chesney nails it here. He says throwing money on an issue won't solve it. The real solution is lowering barriers to homeownership. Yes. So property taxes through the roof. Let's talk about what's driving up the cost of housing in Illinois: property taxes. And what is that attributed to? That's attributed to the pension debt. What we need to do is get these stupid teachers off of $200,000 pensions, stupid superintendents and administrators off of these exorbitant pensions. We need to get them to not collect those anymore. We need to address the pension debt, pay that down, so that way these property taxes don't go through the roof. Okay. Zoning laws make building a nightmare. They're kind of designed to be really favorable to people who have money. It makes for a nightmare. Permit delays, union labor mandates, environmental reviews stacked on environmental reviews. Like, this is what's driving housing up. And, when lawmakers say, why isn't anybody building affordable housing? Yeah, there's all these projects that have been approved, but nobody builds because it's impossible to build for an affordable price, because you have to use labor unions, or you have to use or you have to get like environmental reviews done, and the people of Illinois are being punished for trying. Okay. So when lawmakers ask, why isn't anybody building affordable housing? It's because you made it that way. You're punishing people who try to build affordable housing with all of your regulation. So rent control doesn't fix that. It makes it worse. If you cap returns on rental properties while keeping taxes high and costs high, developers are going to stop building. The only ones left are going to be the ones who can weather that. And ultimately, they're going to come in with their big ask at the end of the day. And yeah, supply is going to dry up, and then the rents are going to go higher. And that's just economics 101. And, you know, Illinois, like I said, loves to pick winners and losers. There's something called enterprise zones. There's tax increment financing districts. So you get some sort of tax break if you build in this specific district. And then there's enterprise zones. You get like grants for building and things, but they don't pick based off of like anything that's non-political. Like if you're politically connected, then you get the special tax breaks, you get the subsidies, you get the carve outs, you get the ribbon cuttings. Like, but if you're a small landlord or a mom and pop builder, you're going to get buried in taxes and paperwork, and you won't be able to make it out of that. So the system is designed to where there's not building going on. And, you know, rent control is not going to hurt the politically connected developers. They'll pass the cost on a few years down the road, and they'll adapt. Okay, so really what this does, it hurts working class renters. It hurts small property owners, the very people Democrats claim to protect. So, you know, people say that, oh, this is going to be great because it lets local voters decide. It's a trap. What they're going to put on the ballot referendum is a vague question. It says, you know, should rent be more affordable? And obviously people are going to say yes, so the ballot referendum will be passed. But what they're not told is that the housing supply is going to shrink. The maintenance is going to decline. New construction is going to stop, and the prices are going to spike. Like, they're not going to be told all those things once it goes to referendum. So the bad policy is implemented, and the way it's implemented is through an oversimplified ballot question with long-term consequences. So if they were serious, Illinois lawmakers, about housing affordability, they'd lower the property taxes, damn it, and stop spending so much money. Like I said, $30 billion prior to Governor JB, and then it's ballooned to $50 billion, our budget. You'd make zoning laws easier to where mom and pop landlords and mom and pop builders can actually build. You'd speed up permitting, and you'd encourage private development. But because more supplies obviously means lower prices. It's not that complicated, actually, when you think of it. But here's the thing. Politicians won't admit that their policies have caused the housing affordability crisis. They're not going to admit that. And then on top of that, they're not going to admit their true intentions, which is to elevate these corporate big developers and to elevate them to being the only guy in town. Okay. And the reason for that is because they want to thank them for contributing to their campaigns. Like, that's, you know, that's something that they're never going to admit because it's wrong. It's unethical. And quite frankly, illegal. Right. But that kind of stuff happens all the time. So, will this be passed? Probably not. The Realtors Association is really against this. They bring it out every year. But I wouldn't be shocked if Springfield ignores all of the economists' warning, all of the realtors' warnings, and they go with the activist, the really wacky activist. I wouldn't be surprised if that does happen. But for at least the last few years, the realtors have done a great job at shutting this crap down. But at the end of the day, Illinois is going to keep losing residents because of the housing affordability, and they're going to try to pretend that rent control is the compassionate solution. Really what it's about political connections and control. So smash that like button, share this out with your friends, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you being here. Carol, it's so great. Thank you, Kat. Good info on actual affordability. Illinois government I know this stuff is heavy lifting, guys, and I know it's not as hot as, immigration or abortion or anything like that. I know it's not as hot, but this is the stuff that affects you. If your local community passes rent control, get ready, because there's only going to be a couple of developers left who weather that storm of rent control. And those developers are going to come back after all the small landlords leave, after all the small property owners leave, and they're going to come back and they're going to mandate higher rent prices than they were even before. Okay, so this affects you and your community. So let's see. I tied a snow sled to my dog, but the dog panicked, thinking the sled was chasing him around. Are you guys affected by the winter storm? I think you're actually talking about this, right? Did you actually do this? A snow sled attached to your dog. So winter storm Fern, I didn't know that they gave it a name, but a lot of people were affected in Tennessee, North Carolina. It was kind of crazy to see it's a bit of a shock to me. Being from Illinois, I'm in South Carolina. We had like an ice storm, but it was like an inch of ice. I don't know. In Illinois, like we've had so much like snow before, so much ice, temperatures dropping into -40. Like there hasn't been weather that I haven't seen. If you live in Illinois, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. There has not been a weather pattern that I have not seen. Like crazy things have happened in Illinois. Now in South Carolina, we had like a little bit of snow, a little bit of ice, and the roads were bad, definitely, but they don't have like salt trucks because it doesn't really happen here, right? Ice storms. I think that I was reading for my area, like an ice storm like this hasn't happened in like the last 20 years. So there's not really salt trucks or anything. And it was a bit of a shock to me because I'm like, what do you mean I can't go out? Like, this is like nothing, you know what I mean? And then it was like several days. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, probably about 4 days where like businesses were closed. Like I went out yesterday and yesterday it was like 45 degrees. Everything was melted. The roads were fine, just wet. And everywhere was closed. And I was like, whoa, this is wild. Like, why? But point is, Southerners, they really don't like the cold weather. I've come to learn that. And I don't either. Illinois, like, there is not a single weather storm that I have not seen. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I don't go to the stores and buy up all the milk and bread or anything like that. And maybe I'm an outlier here, but weather has never really freaked me out. And I don't know if it's because like I know God's in control of that. And like there's really no way for me to control that. And Jesus, he calmed the storm. And I take great faith, or I have great faith when it comes to the weather. I don't know what that is, but I don't freak out over the weather. And I do think that the weathermen are in on it with the big stores, the big box stores, and they try to get you to go to the stores and they say, you got to hunker down for several days. I won't lie. I wish I would have went to the store prior to this ice storm because I ran out of a lot of things because the people closed up. And I was like, what? Why would you close up? But yeah, the hype, I'm kind of conspiratorial. I've got that tinfoil hat where I'm like, is the weatherman just trying to get me to go spend more at Walmart? Are they in on it with each other? Sometimes I think that could be a possibility. Anyway, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Chanting ice brings you ice. Yeah, that's one thing about the Minnesota riots that I can't wrap my head around. It's freezing in Minnesota. I mean, it's got to be so god awful. I actually have a friend, he's in Iowa, But he said that it was like negative 21 degrees there, and he's not even like wind chill or feels like, okay, that's negative 21 degrees, a hard negative 21 degrees. Some cold weather up north, okay, that they've been experiencing. In Minnesota, why the hell, like, I think of Renee Good. You've got a 6-year-old boy, you know, and it's really tragic that she died. She's got this 6-year-old kid. Why aren't you at home just baking cookies for your kid when it's cold outside? You know, why go out at all? Why participate in this radicalism? Or are you really like that obsessed about it? You know, I love politics. Politics will never come ahead of my faith, God, and my family. Like that will never, like, there's priorities in life. And I'm sorry, but if it's like negative 10 degrees outside, I'm not going out in my SUV and blocking ICE agents, okay? Or I'm not going out and, I don't know, the conservative equivalent, battling it out with leftist agitators. I'm just not doing that. And you never see Republicans do that. Why? Because Republicans don't live for politics. They live and then they do politics, okay? But the left, they live for politics. It's like their purpose in life. And it's really kind of sad if you think about it. Yeah, I could not imagine being in Minneapolis, going out there, responding to an address, like, and it's negative 10 degrees outside, and then getting in the face of an ICE agent. Like, why would you do that? It makes no sense. Go ahead, smash that like button, subscribe. We are going to be done for the day. Glad I took some of your super chats. Be sure to come back tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time. Subscribe while you're here. And bye-bye. I love you. Be blessed.